In this episode of Relentless Mentality, I'm at the beautiful Phoenix Country Club with pro golfer Cheyenne Woods. The LPGA Tour pro and niece of Tiger Woods, we talk about growing up in Phoenix playing golf, learning how to play the game of golf and the struggles and difficulties that come with the game of golf, while then attending Wake Forest University where she's All-American, winning on the tour, and sometimes having to deal with the pressure and scrutiny of being related to one of the greatest athletes of our generation. Tune in this episode, you won't want to miss it.
Relentless, commonly defined as oppressively constant, determined, showing no abatement of severity, intensity, strength, or pace. I believe relentless is an ethos. You're not stopping until you get what you want. You're not taking no for an answer. No obstacle will deter you from your goals. Relentless mentality is where we get to tap into the mindset of change agents, leaders, and icons. My hope is that their stories will inspire and motivate others to transform their mentality in their profession, their personal life, and ultimately their communities. So remember, when it's tough, will you give up or will you be relentless?
Welcome to Relentless Mentality. I'm your host, Justin Bayless. I'm here with Cheyenne Woods. Welcome to the show, Cheyenne.
Thank you for having me.
Cheyenne's an LPGA Tour pro. She's got her tour professional card in 2015 with her first European Tour win in 2014 in Australia. She was an All-American at Wake Forest and is also a Phoenix native.
Yes, I'm a local. I love it here.
Well, welcome. So I was hoping you could take me through kind of how you got into golf and your passion for golf and kind of moving through high school and college and then to the pros.
So I grew up here in Phoenix. Neither of my parents ever played golf, never picked up a club, never watched golf, but my grandpa got me into the game. So my grandpa got me started when I was about 5 years old. I grew up watching Tiger on TV, and he was kind of my inspiration and my motivation to just get into it and stay competitive. So I played all the way through high school. I went to Xavier here in Phoenix, went to Wake Forest in college, and my goal was always to play professionally. I always saw myself playing on the LPGA Tour when I was even 6 years old watching it on TV. So once I graduated from Wake, I played European Tour and finally made my way to LPGA. So this was my fourth season now, and it's gone by really quick, but it's just awesome to be able to see how far I've come because it wasn't always easy, and playing professionally is fun, but it's definitely challenging.
Yeah, so a lot of my friends who haven't picked up a golf club before think golf is so easy and you can just pick it up and go out there, and I tell them it's not like...
I wish.
Yeah, it's not like any other sport where your athletic ability can help you. You have to really work at the technique and different things. So can you talk about, and I know your mom is very much involved in you and your career and so forth, so can you talk as a kid and the amount of time and effort and how she's helped support you and so forth?
I would have to say, growing up as a kid and being a golfer, you definitely need a supportive parent or some sort of organization or program that you can grow up in, because golf is not like soccer where you can just kick a ball around out in your backyard. You need the tools, you kind of need the instruction and the support. So my mom was huge in driving me to my golf tournaments and my lessons, and she was out there every minute in the hot summers out here in Phoenix. So that was instrumental in me just developing as a player and keeping the love of it as well, keeping it fun and keeping it not too serious at such a young age, because I think that's important too.
So I got to ask this question. I didn't even think about this earlier. Is, your uncle is maybe one of the most famous athletes in history.
Yeah.
How do you deal with that? How do you deal with having to, have the last name and have that comparison and walk through life with that?
It's funny because I don't know anything different.
Yeah.
When I started playing golf, which was like 95, 96, Tiger was already on tour. He was about to win his first Masters. So ever since I started playing at a competitive level, I've always had that attention because of Tiger.
Yeah.
I've definitely seen it evolve as I've evolved as a player. So it does get a little bit tiresome just to deal with it as I'm starting my own career and building my own career. But, I've figured out ways to kind of disconnect from that and just focus on what I'm doing as an individual player.
So he just had his match in Vegas.
Yes, it was awesome.
I think we should see a match with you two one day. That would
That
be interesting
would be
to watch.
fun. That would be fun. Or we could team up.
There you go.
I wouldn't mind being on his team.
So when did you know and for lack of a better term, you were good? Like when did it start to happen when you're like, okay, I have skill here, you know, I need to take this to the next level? What age and how did that happen?
Probably not until maybe middle school, high school, when I started to play at a more national level. I would travel and I could see that I could actually compete with girls from across the country. And that's when it became real that I do want to gain a scholarship and play in college, and I do want to play professionally, and it's real and it's close. So it wasn't until I started to play more competitively at a higher level that I was able to see where my game stood against other girls in the country, because I think a lot of times you get stuck in your bubble locally of who you're playing with and how good you are.
Yeah.
But once you are tested at that bigger level is when you can really see where you stand.
So Wake Forest, how did you choose Wake Forest?
Everyone always asks me that because it's very different from Phoenix, and
Far.
it's far,
Yeah.
far away from where I grew up. But I think growing up in Phoenix, I just got tired of being here. And I wanted to try somewhere new. I wanted to branch out, and so Wake Forest had reached out to me. I knew of Wake just from Mr. Palmer. Arnold Palmer went there. I've always been a huge basketball fan, so I knew, you know, Tim Duncan and Chris Paul. And as soon as I visited Wake, I fell in love with it. The scenery is so different from Phoenix. They have seasons. And then the golf program, again, is just amazing. So it was a good fit for me.
So there's a lot of high school athletes that get a college scholarship and don't end up professional athletes. So what was the biggest obstacle in college, or the area or the time when you said, you know what, I need to, you know, you were an All-American. So how did you make that transition to become a successful college athlete from high school, if there's a young high school athlete who wants to play golf and is thinking about going to college themselves?
It's definitely a transition from high school to college to professional, and I think every stage is very important. I always stress the importance of college. I thought it was really beneficial for me. Everyone is different, but every stage you're pushed to a new level, both on the course and off the course. When I was in college, we traveled, we played at a higher level. I was on my own. I was forced to be independent and responsible for things. And then professionally, it's even more independence, and you have the business aspect of the golf industry. So I would say just embrace every challenge and every stage, and be prepared for bumps in the road and to be pushed out of your comfort zone.
Okay. So you graduated from Wake Forest, right?
I did,
And
yes.
then went out and played professional golf. And so what has been now being a professional, the most difficult part of being a professional, and how are you overcoming the obstacles of playing professional golf and trying to win more events on tour?
I think the most difficult part is the lifestyle of traveling a majority of the year and playing week after week after week. Like I was saying, in college, we would travel and play, but you would play 8 events a year, you know, and that's different from now, where I'm playing maybe up to 28 events a year. And I'm going on the road for maybe 6 to 8 weeks at a time, which I don't do that anymore, but I've learned that lesson. But it's definitely a lesson of what your body can handle. When do you play your best? When are you able to peak? And how much do you want to be on the road? How much do you want to be at home? So I think just finding that balance is the biggest difficulty, or has been for me.
So what's your routine? What's your fitness routine? How do you stay sharp? You know, again, a lot of people who don't play golf think, oh, it's not hard. You walk 18 holes. It's not rigorous. They've probably never walked 18 holes and played 4 days in a row or whatever. But so tell me a little bit about your routine. How do you prepare yourself mentally, physically for a professional round, a competitive
So
round?
physically, when I'm home, I'm working out. I love to run and hike, but also focusing on the golf side of fitness. So I work with somebody out here about 3 days a week. And when I'm on the road, I try to be active at least 3 days a week when I'm on the road as well. And the schedule is a little inconsistent, so you have to make the time. But definitely put my time in fitness-wise, just so I have the stamina, the flexibility. You don't want injuries when you're out there traveling week after week after week. And then mentally, I used to work with a sports psychologist. I love to read, and just being inspired and figuring out ways to sharpen your mind and be your best when you're out there competing. You might physically be tired, but your mind just has to kind of push you through those moments.
So the reason I love golf is
Yes.
the mental aspect.
Yes.
And so professional golfer is going to shoot in the 60s most of the time on a round of golf, right? So you're out there 3.5, 4 hours, and the actual movement is, You know, if you think about a golf swing is maybe a second, so 60 seconds in a round of golf. What do you do mentally between shots? How do you prepare for a shot? How do you prepare against the course? What does that kind of look like from a mental preparation standpoint? And then when you're actively engaged, how do you stay in it?
I think some of it has to come from prior to playing. You have to mentally prepare, whether it's just going through a yardage book or visualizing or meditating. And then when I'm out on the course, in between shots, I just have to disconnect, whether it's talking with my caddy or just looking at the grass or the trees or the crowd. Distract your mind from the constant grind of thinking of the shot and where you are, what you're shooting, where you need to be. Because like you said, after 4.5 hours, that's very draining day after day. So I find myself having to disconnect in between shots and just give my mind that break. And when you get to the ball, you just turn it back on and you're able to focus in on what you need to do.
Very cool. Okay, so 2018's come to a close. I know you're actively involved in some charities and some other things. What do you have next for 2019? And can you tell us about some of the other things you're involved in?
So my golf is done now for the year. And I work locally here with the First Tee Phoenix and the Girls Golf Club, LPGA. So right now I'm actually working on my first girls golf clinic. And we're going to be having that next February. And it's hosted by the First Tee of Phoenix. So I'm going to invite local girls from schools and other programs to come and learn the game of golf, and that's something that I'm passionate about, just with spreading golf and so many things you can learn through the sport and what it's done for me. So I'm really excited for that. So that's kind of what I have looking forward to in 2019.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, Cheyenne, I think everybody at home is rooting for you and
Thank you.
really love seeing you on TV on a national level. And
Thank you.
Thank you for representing Phoenix, and good luck in 2019. And thanks for coming on and telling a little bit more about professional golf.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed what you saw today, please subscribe in the links below. And remember, never to quit, always be relentless.